Awesome. My name's Sarah Knievy. I work at Henderson and I am a Universal Systems coach at Central Office. And we have the gift of hearing from educator voice today. Some of us that have been in buildings since September and been caring for kids, and some of us that are newly back just in the last couple of weeks. We are a variety of roles, and the panel's going to introduce themselves here in a second and let you know what they're up to. And the main hope is that whatever happens in the next hour, you benefit from the wisdom and the experience of those that have gone before us in terms of what it looks like to welcome students back. And before turning it over to some introductions, just a huge thank you to the panel. We truly recognize how much responsibility and weight is on your shoulders right now in terms of all the work you are carrying and all the care you're providing for students and families and each other. So thank you for the gift of this hour together. What we'll do with this first round is you'll put your name, your role, and your school into the space, and maybe what has been a highlight for you related to reopening, whether that's a reopening in September or whether that's a reopening in the last couple of weeks. Name, role, and school, and then a highlight for you for reopening. Anybody want to kick it off?
My name is Erica Brown. I'm at Hawthorne Elementary Community School. I am the Community School Resource Coordinator. And I think one of our highlights at Hawthorne is just how we have came together as a community at Hawthorne in the midst of all our trials and tribulations. We have supported each other, and our words have been used with patience and with grace and understanding. So for the most part, we've been planning for the day that our kids return to us. So in the midst of that, we have just, I believe, have gotten closer.
Thank you.
My name is Stephanie Olson, and I'm a kindergarten DLI teacher at Falk Elementary. And a highlight for this return for our kinders was seeing students in person. It was cool returning because we already knew the students on this return compared to a September. So it was nice having that instant connection when we got to see friends, but it was also really exciting for friends to see their virtual friends live on TV. So it was great connecting in a new way.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm Isla Brettel. I'm a first grade ELI teacher at Falk Elementary. And to kind of second what Stephanie just shared, there's so much joy and seeing their eyes light up when you're a real life person and not someone on their screen was so much fun. We did Lexia for a short time. The room was silent and a student just screamed, "I am having so much fun." So I think that the joy and energy that's back in the room has been definitely a highlight for my classroom.
Hi, I'm Sonia Fowler. I'm a BEA over at Henderson, also the second adult in the classroom for kindergarten. I second that emotion of what you guys are saying. Also, just to see some of the students, because I was there for CARES, come back and was like, "You're back? You're here?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here. We thought you wasn't gonna be here." I'm like, "Who told you that?" But we glad to see you. And I was happy to see them, just to see their little faces light up, you know, coming back to school. They were ready. So, and knowing kindergarten know what they're doing. So that's my highlight.
Sonia's pretty much a celebrity. When she would pop in on our Zooms, no matter what time, what class, kids were in awe that wherever she was and that she would come visit us. And now we get to see her in person, so it's pretty sweet. What else? Who hasn't introduced themselves? Who's up next?
I can go. My name is Mike O'Reilly. I am a cross-categorical / kindergarten teacher at Lakeview Elementary. My role is a little different. It wasn't the same role that I had in the beginning of the year that I have right now, Right now, I am the in-person kindergarten teacher, but I also have students on my caseload that I also have pull-out time with in the afternoon. So I was actually in the building in the beginning of the year with some of my kids who needed in-person, who actually, will benefit from being in person. So learning about the PPP, being safe, those are things I kind of did early on. So I was kind of prepared for coming into my classroom. And now that I have the kindergartners, it was just a joy to see their face, just coming into class. This is what they really, came to school to do, was to come to school and not just be sitting in front of a screen. So just to see their face coming to the building, ready to learn the expectations and show us that they know how to stay safe within the building is something that I definitely took joy in. So that's something that I enjoyed for the first week or so.
You also highlight the flexibility in roles, which most of us are experiencing. We may have started as something, or we may have gone to school for something, and we're all finding ourselves just doing whatever it takes.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, there you go, Abby. Okay, cool.
My name is Abby Miller, and I am a kindergarten teacher at Hawthorne Elementary School. And I would say one of the highlights for me this week was watching kids interact with each other, not through a screen. Students got super excited and said to another kid, "You're not glitchy." And it's kind of a sad reality. But just their excitement to see each other and to see me in person was definitely a highlight for the reopening.
Marissa and Rochelle, do you want to introduce yourselves? And you've been back in schools too. Maybe you can share a highlight.
My name is Rochelle Stone. I work for the Department of Student and Staff Support, doing RJ, restorative justice and racial justice work. In person, I've been supporting Hegel Kindergarten on and off, and then I'll also be supporting Mendota when they do third grade reentry. And yeah, I just think, especially in kindergarten, and I used to teach kindergarten, like they know what to do, like they have got this. Just being so flexible and being in community together has been just really joyful to see.
Hi, I'm Marissa Flowers. I work in central office and I work with elementary instructional coaches. And so I had the opportunity to be at Falk the first day to welcome back kindergartners. I had the opportunity to be in Isla's room, and I would echo everything that everyone has just said. The joy, the way in which teachers have built community with both their in-person and their virtual friends, and just students' excitement to be in the classroom and engaged in learning and connecting with one another and caring for one another was definitely a highlight that I witnessed in the first 2 weeks of being at Falk.
Some super common through lines, a sense of community and care for one another, the joy of being back together, and then what engagement looks like when we're in person has been a lot to celebrate. Thinking about 3rd through 5th grade teachers, they have not, for some of them, have not been back in buildings and maybe holding a whole bunch of feelings about what that's going to be like. What would you offer to those that haven't been back in buildings yet about what has surprised you? Some counsel for them about what has surprised you as they think about coming back. And we can, for this share, if you want to weigh in, great. If someone else captures your thinking, we'll just keep moving down through the questions. So as they prepare to come back, and you don't know what you don't know sometimes, what has surprised you that you can offer to counsel for our 3rd through 5th grade teachers?
I would say the awareness of how much the kids know the change that has happened compared to what school was like last year to this year. Like I said, I work with the kindergartners, so they are quick to, remind themselves or others in the classrooms, make sure you pull your mask up and things of that nature. So I think just the awareness level is there, and using empowering language, I would say. rather than just telling them, oh, pull your mask up, just putting the question back on them. Hey, what are the rules, or can somebody else tell me, rather than just telling them to do something, so just using the right language and having patience is what I would say to prepare for, coming back to school.
Other thoughts on what surprised you?
With our kinders, one thing that surprised me was how resilient they were to just jump into this new routine, new schedule. Typically in September, it would take a lot of time to get into routines, and we're 7 days in and we're moving. And so our friends have just been really resilient and ready to take on and move it forward with us. So it feels like we haven't lost any momentum. We're just moving forward.
What surprised me is how well the kinders can speak and relate to things that are going on around them. How excited they were to see their friends. I had one just tell me, oh, Miss Sonia, I'm so sick of being at home. I am so glad to see my friend, but also was aware of boundaries as well, how far that he could actually be from his friend to be able to speak to his friend. And, just to see that was enough just to relax in the building a little bit, remind as you need to remind, but it's a way that you also say things, just like Mike said. So that's a big step, not to overpower or overwhelm the kids as well, because we know we are overwhelmed as well. So we need to relax a little bit, just not a lot, but a little bit.
Thank you. Any other surprises?
The bell's ringing, if you can hear these chimes. I don't know how it's working at every school. We don't get our the full amount of planning time that we would have in previous years. So it wasn't a big surprise, but it just really did feel like there was no time in the day, and there would be time to answer a quick email. So I would highly recommend collaborating with teammates. We are big on shared slide decks to make a game plan on Monday to try to look ahead to the week. So there's not as much work in the evenings.
Thank you for lifting. The schedule is surprising. It's surprising to realize like what is going to happen in terms of school day work is going to need to happen on Mondays. And how do you share and become more efficient and really deeply partner with your fellow educators? And how do we sustain this work? Because many of us are lesson planning deep into the evening, and that's not a long-term plan.
I would say another surprise that I had was the technology in, all different varieties of it, but how well it can work and how many hiccups there can be, how great kids can be while they're waiting for things to work, and how they are great reminders to me to just try my best and keep going. But you can practice and practice with that technology, and then it doesn't always go the same way you think it's going to go. And it's also very different when you're using the technology with students in front of you and at home than if you're practicing with colleagues.
Yep, you're just going to live the strengths and you're going to live the hiccups. Awesome. I think we're going to move into some specific questions related to safety first, maybe.
Yeah, and Miss Sonia and I think Michael also lifted this, but really thinking about when we think about health and safety, what are some strategies that you all are using, including like language, empowering language, that you're using to foster safe and supportive environments for our students.
At Hawthorne, we're using the term a dolphin's distance to try to, well, first of all, they like saying it as the kindergartners, but to help kind of 6 feet is kind of a term that not many people can relate to. So we have some cutout dolphins in the hallway that are 6 feet apart so that they can kind of get the visual for how far we'd like it to be. And it's not perfect. We start that way and then, you know, we're getting closer and closer, but we just keep using that term of dolphin distance. And they know that that means that there needs to be some space in between them. And they're, for the most part, trying their best.
Sorry. There are markers. We have yellow markers in our hallway. Also, we have specific tape that shows you how far you are supposed to be. We go over the rules every day, you know, and also we'll call on someone to actually go over the rules. So sometimes they learn from each other, you know. Then we have on the board where we'll call the squares or the circles to go wash their hands in like the sink, but they know they go one at a time. The circles go to the bathroom and wash their hands because we have a bathroom inside the room. They go one at a time, and as they're going one at a time, getting up, I'm wiping down desks, or the teachers are wiping down the desk. So that's our model. And also arrows to tell you which way that you go on the side. There might be an arrow on this side and then a green circle on this side to show you which way the traffic flows.
Yeah, those visuals are key, especially for our littlest people, but especially for all students, really, that sometimes just saying 6 feet, it doesn't resonate. And so that's really important. Anybody else want to jump in?
Hawthorne also has a reopening slide presentation that first the staff used and edited and revised. Then we sent out to parents and students. So also the language is put into the presentation.
We also did a little lesson on being assertive, and so friends being able to advocate for themselves and what they need in the classroom, whether that's moving around in their space during teaching time or during break time, and also advocating for when they need a new mask. In kindergarten, we've had a lot of wet masks, broken masks, and some friends going through 8 masks a day. And so, you know, sometimes it's hard for us as a teacher to know if a mask is wet or doesn't feel comfortable. And so really creating a space where students can hear one another doing that self-advocating and saying, hey, I need this. And then if another friend can say, oh, me too, and getting comfortable that way.
Our literacy team at Lakeview Elementary, they put together some good books for us to read, books that had something to do with like big changes, some new books about COVID-19 for the little ones to be able to relate to. So they prepared us pretty well with that, but also prepared us with using the language or about being safe prior to doing something, while doing it, and also after. So they can have those, you know, constant reminders of, you know, what it means to be safe and why we have to stay our distance. Our school mascot is the lizards. So they all know that the lizards are small though. So one of the kids in the classroom said that, well, a Komodo dragon is a big lizard. Okay, so I'm like, all right, so let's stay a Komodo dragon away. So letting them be, you know, a part of the terminology in the classroom and having them have a voice about it I think is important also too.
A really specific moment of the day after everyone's served either snack, breakfast, or lunch, everyone needs to be seated before they can unmask. So we came up with like a magic word, and each student takes a turn noticing when everyone's ready, and then when they announce the word, that's when the masks can come off. So I don't know if that will extend into intermediate grades, but it's been fun for them to be looking out for each other and also listen for the magic word.
I love all of these ideas, and it's all rooted in centering student voice and advocacy versus like what we were afraid was going to happen, right? Where somebody takes their mask off if they're not the right distance, and then you have somebody harping or yelling at a child. But instead, it's about what's that pre-work and that pre-teaching and that learning together that can happen. I love it. Anybody else before we move into our question around social emotional learning? All right, so some of this probably goes together, but in what ways are you all explicitly planning for and attending to students' social emotional needs during this transition? And also knowing that concurrent teaching is happening, how are you building community and maintaining engagement between, you know, our roomies and our Zoomies?
So one thing for me as a DLI teacher is I'm also connected not only to my students in front of me and virtual friends, but we are also part of the time connected to another teacher next door in her entire class. And so we've been really intentional about pausing and checking in with each group. And so making sure, especially as we switch from one teacher to the next, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up, checking in with virtual friends. And so taking the time during all those transitions to just check in again with each group of students seems to have been helpful, and it has supported us when we haven't been working our technology.
Hawthorne is an early start school, so the kids can arrive as early as 7:35 and the school day starts at 7:50. And so we have a soft start where teachers and our morning meeting partners are meeting kids outside, and then we walk in together. And then that time until 8:30 when our Zoom starts is our breakfast time, and it's just really a nice easy way to start the day and check in with students and see how they're feeling. Because once the day gets going, there's just a lot and it goes by really fast. And so we found that time is kind of very important and sacred. And then after breakfast, when we start to get out our Chromebooks and we get ready to invite the virtual learners then with us, instead of just me welcoming all of the kids on, which is kind of how it has been when we're all virtual, now the kids that are in the classroom too, as the virtual kids start popping up on the big computer screen, they're all waving to them and saying hi. And so I think it makes the virtual learners feel very included and welcome in the classroom as well.
I think utilizing the, if there is another adult in the room is key. I think where you have your camera is kind of important to, you know, making sure that everyone is included. What our team has done is, like I said, had that second adult in the room kind of be the voice for the Zoomies. And what we do to make sure we keep them like included is, you know, right before, like if we have to go to lunch in person, they probably going to leave or they have their break time. We just sing like a little goodbye song. I know it's elementary. I mean, it's kindergarten, maybe a little different for the older ones, but just a little goodbye song to let them know that we, you know, they are a part of the, you know, the class, and, you know, we will see them either later in for specials, or, you know, if that's the end of the day, we'll just say goodbye for that day. But just making sure that they are like included and asking questions between the students in person and on Zoom. So that's what I would say for sure.
For us, I'm at the bottom of the stairwell. I start at 7 o'clock because some of our kids get dropped off early. 7:25, 7:15 sometimes. For them to see me in the morning. I catch our criers coming in, just to get a chance to just talk to them, to see how they're feeling. Some come in, I did this yesterday. And I'm like, oh yeah, can I tell you all about it? Sure, we got a little bit of time. So then going straight into the classroom, helping out with breakfast, getting a chance to connect with each one of the students that's there. And then also being able to speak to the ones that are virtual, and then some of them will tell you I'm ready for learning, some of them will tell you they are not ready. So, just making that connection with the students at that time is awesome.
Morning meeting has been taking a long time, and I think that it's a great foundation to set the day. So I have been letting it go long and making sure that we're greeting everybody in the classroom and on the screen. I have like a pick a stick, and I colored the Zoomies a different color. So I was intentional about, or I have been intentional about switching off, making sure that it's not just all kids in the room and the ones on the screen are forgotten about. So that color coding is just a visual cue for me to remember to pick one out. So it's a balanced participation.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, that student-adult relationship is key in order to continue to foster just engagement in our relationships as we continue on for the rest of the school year and as more kids come back. I'm going to pass it to Marissa for the next set of questions.
Thanks, Rochelle. So I'm going to ask two set of questions that have to do with instruction. And so thinking about your concurrent instruction, and would love to hear what are some creative instructional strategies that you have explored, tried on in order to keep both of the groups engaged and learning? And if you could talk about what has been effective or what have you learned?
All right, so one thing that has been really helpful for us is doing those movements. And because at a typical time in a Zoom, we'll have around 35 people. One thing that's been really helpful is not just doing the thumbs up, but really getting moving. So, okay, it's a word that rhymes, we're gonna put two hands up. If it doesn't rhyme, you're gonna duck down, and it doesn't matter if you're virtual or behind a desk. The kiddos are really getting into engaging that way, and it's also a great check for us on the teacher end. So a lot of those types of movements. Also with reading, our friends all like to participate and can feel very sad when they don't get to. So we have found it really helpful doing the echo reading and then choral reading instead of calling one person out at a time. And just incorporating a lot of, there's so much on the internet now, incorporating finding songs that goes with that theme or instructional unit, and then getting them to draw during the instruction, finding opportunities to potentially write. So really just trying to create some lessons where all students can find that entry point.
I think too, as we become more comfortable with the technology, using the microphone, and the first couple of days I was sitting behind my laptop, like advancing slides and that type of thing. And now we have a remote clicker and I can move around the room with the microphone. So the kids in the room love to use the microphone, and the kids, the virtual kids, like to call on who they think should use the microphone in that type of way. But it just really, I feel like that was a piece during virtual learning that I was kind of behind my laptop and doing some movements. And now that I'm able to walk around the room and get closer to the students and really see what they're working on. I feel like that's been a good reminder for me in what I'm teaching, because when we were all virtual, it's like you could guess what they were doing and they would hold things up at some times. But this has just been a good reminder. And the microphone has been super helpful in allowing me more movement on my part within the classroom.
A tech piece that we found helpful is when sharing a slide on Zoom, you can annotate over it. So it's on the large screen, and then students in both environments are able to see it, and you don't have to switch like to using a dot cam or holding something up and making sure that kids on the screen can see it. So that shared visual has been helpful.
Well, I kind of got lucky and I actually don't have to do it. The dual, since my role kind of changed, I didn't actually wasn't a virtual teacher either. But I just think the games that they can play that can go either for virtual or in person, like some of the math games that they play where you have to spin and just keeping them involved where it's not just like one-sided. I think those are some things that are pretty helpful. But like I said, my role is a little different at Lakeview, but overall, I just enjoy the fact that, we have the option to work with both. So.
I also just want to add, I've been trying to incorporate as much choice as possible, especially when we were straight virtual. It felt like there were more limited choices. And so now even for friends at home or in the classroom, if you want to lay on your rest mat and do phonics today, or you want to sit at your table. And so, if we are doing a craft, you get to choose your colors. I don't know, big or small. I'm just trying to think how can I add choice to this when I'm planning.
In our room, we added a lot of choices as well. It's okay to do that because at home, they have different things that they're doing. They're always in movement. So we need to incorporate home into school life as well, as much as we possibly can. And remember that every kid is different. Every kid needs something different. And we also made bins for our students as well of different things, blocks, Legos, magnetics, things of that sort that they would keep at with them for like that entire week, and then switch off. So over the weekend, it'll have time to air itself out. So, that's what we doing.
Thanks for that. So I heard offering choice, lots of different entry points for both students that are at home and also that are in school, and really thinking about how you can create opportunities for the students to collaborate together. You had talked about the annotation of the slides, so opportunities for them to work together. So thinking about those things and also thinking about what we started with when we were talking about cell and instructional strategies. So as you think about your planning, so we've shifted from last year virtual and now in concurrent, as you reflect on your teacher planning, what do you need to more closely attend to in your planning for concurrent instruction that is different from how you planned for instruction previously?
Again, my role is a little different from the beginning of the year to now. So mine was more like individualized as far as ability level. But now that I have a classroom, I have to be more aware of the development level of my students, like what rate they're going at. It's different when you just have one student. So I'm just adjusting to, just making sure that I'm including everyone and being aware of, how much they're learning and how much they can take in. at a certain time and a certain amount of time. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Like I said, it's a little different for teachers that been virtual beginning of the year compared to what they're doing now. But like I said, it's just more being inclusive with everyone. I think that's where I think, I need to, improve, and it was pretty much different than what I was doing earlier.
I think now when planning for concurrent materials is a pretty obvious one, but if I can hand out reading aid as ebooks or something in the classroom, thinking about how students at home are going to access that learning. So whether it's taking screenshots of the books and sending a link in the chat, or finding a website with the same book already available, pattern blocks, utilizing some of Bridges at Home resources, just making sure that those at home are still able to access the same learning and procedure of whatever you're doing is something that you would just have to think one time about, but now you're thinking about it in both lanes.
Or even the flip side of that, when we were all virtual, it was being creative about, okay, how can I make these lessons in Seesaw, and how can I make them, interactive for the kids, and what will they be moving and manipulating? And now that we've got in-person learners too, it's remembering, okay, well, they don't have to do this on Seesaw. So how can we get them the materials that they need in the room to be doing the same thing, so that everyone's getting the same experience and learning target, but the ones in the room might not necessarily be doing it on Seesaw. So it's almost thinking about a lesson and kind of, as you were saying, like thinking both ways. How will people at home be able to access this, and how will people in the classroom be able to access this? It's a lot to think about, but it's getting easier, because it's been a while since we've been back in the room and actually had some materials too. So that's been a pleasant surprise to remember some of our old favorite things as well.
All right, thank you for that. Jamie, might we pause for a minute, maybe?
No. All right, so these next two sets of questions have to do with sort of like global student services, but I really encourage anybody to answer if you feel called to answer them. So thinking from a global school building perspective, what student needs are arising now that we are back in person, and what supports have been helpful both within the classroom or on that school-wide level when we think about student needs.
When we speak about student level at Hawthorne, we have a student support team, which is our psychiatrist, social worker, our behavior support, myself and the principal, few teachers. But I think with our behavior support, Jill, our Dr. Mitchell is our psychologist, and Tang is our social worker. I think those three has really been leading the work in preparing our staff, whether it's mindfulness during PDs or just getting the information out to our families. Again, that two-way communication piece usually starts with them three when you talk to needs outside of academics. Hawthorne is a community school, 1 in 4 community schools. So we try to do things a little different. So this year, the push was just that shared leadership throughout the building. There's not one person that is doing one thing. Everyone has that responsibility, in whether it's contacting our families, whether finding out what they need, the basic support, whether they need a pencil, a whiteboard, whatever that was. Everyone in that building, down to our custodian, our food service people. I mean, when we say all hands on deck at Hawthorne, we mean just that. So that's why I said there's we lived in a year of COVID. You know, there's all in our in my eyes as a community school, there's opportunity in this threat, and we have came up with a lot of opportunities, system changes, mind changes, just the culture within the school. We really has put a pause to this. To this year, to really, again, we shouldn't go back to how things were, especially when we're teaching our students of color, our Black kids, being centered in our classroom, our families being centered in our schools. I think Hawthorne has really kept that focus. Another thing, our school improvement plan and our coordination, we did a Hawthorne coordination plan, which came up with 3 priorities: academic, our holistic wellness, and our basic needs. All those priorities are for our staff, family, for our students, family, and staff. So with our Hawthorne, our coordination plan, and with our SIT plan, we've combined that into one plan, with our foundation being our anti-racist work and our restorative justice being the lens in everything that we do. So I think our vision has been solid. And I think when we return to school, I really don't think we're going to be doing things the same, but we're going to be moving forward, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Erica. You hit so many things on the head that we really need to be thinking about coming through and out of this pandemic experience. Anybody else want to lift voice to anything regarding that question?
I think another unique aspect of what we are doing this year is that at whatever grade level we have, it's basically as we're reopening, some of our students, half of our students, however many, are starting the school year kind of over in learning how to do things in a physical sense, while the others are maintaining the virtual world that they've been living in. And so speaking to what Erica said, it really is all hands on deck with trying to get the question about what student needs are arising. The virtual friends are having different needs than the in-person friends, and it's a lot to manage and maneuver. And I think just the working together and remembering where everyone is at. Sonia said it before, we're all overwhelmed as educators as well. And then imagine how the kids are feeling, and just trying to meet everyone where they are, and just have space and patience that this is a experience that no one has kind of ever really experienced before.
Also, my feelings to this is that while you have that second adult in that classroom, that if the child wants to talk to you, that you let the second adult know what they should be doing, you know, as far as your Zoomie goes, or, you know, your in-person classroom kids, because I feel like that connection with the teacher and the child is very important of building that relationship, because there's a lot of us that do have relationships with families outside of school that tell you things that they don't want to tell a person that's actually in that classroom that they really don't know, you know, because some of the teachers are new to some of the families. You know, we have to be mindful that a lot of children has lost a lot of people over the time of COVID. We have lost people over the time of COVID, you know, since COVID have started. But I feel like if we capture the emotional part, they'll be able to learn more, you know, not going in just straight teaching and thinking, oh, they should know. Or some of them, like you said, those haven't been on in a while. You know, it's been hit or miss, you know, so just seeing what is their needs.
I like that, Sonia, not to bring your own narrative into space, you know? So a lot of times we can create our own narratives, and it's way off about a person's child's family or whatever they're going through. So leave the assumptions, definitely during this time, leave the assumptions at the door, because 9 out of 10 we will be wrong. I also like to say, Abby, if I'm misspeaking, regarding the schedule, there's a 30 minute duty free schedule, which then turns in to the third, which runs into the 30-minute back-to-back for the specials. So that gives like an hour. So the intentionality behind scheduling would give a longer time to regroup, to problem solve, to take a lunch break, to reflect. I know someone mentioned scheduling, so I hope that helped a little bit, if I said it right.
Thank you. I'm in awe of people's perspective and voice as we move through this panel. So thinking about, we do have to think about health and safety guidelines, like what creative ways have you seen in your buildings around supporting students, especially when we have to think about minimizing contact between multiple adults with students? So what does that look like?
At our school, we do not, they call it pods, or, you stay within your pod. You do not go to another pod. So if I'm in your pod, Rochelle, I do not go to Erica's pod. If I need to speak with Erica, it will be outside of her classroom and we will keep that distance. So that's to keep everyone safe. Sorry, I got a call coming in.
I believe the district gave us a lot of resources, a lot of posters throughout the room and throughout the school already to reinforce, making sure that, staying safe. Like I said, we watched a lot of videos, read books about big changes and how, it can be difficult for the change, but, it's something that we all have to get used to. So, yeah, I just think, like I said, the kids want to show you that they are able to stay safe because they actually want to be in the building themselves. So just like I said, reiterating things before or after changes throughout the day and doing it all the time, So that's pretty much how we got prepared for, staying safe after school.
We've also been doing the podding, and each of our classrooms has a morning meeting partner, and then we're trying the best that we can that morning meeting partner is the one that will be watching the students during the classroom teachers duty-free lunch and then during specials as well. So in my kindergarten classroom, they know Miss Emily really well because she's been with us virtually the whole year, and now she's with us in the morning for arrival, she's with us at dismissal, and then she's the one with the students when I am not there. And so she and I are the only adults that are really in my room and interacting with the students. And there's, due to student needs, some of the pods have to be a little bit bigger with some of the CC clusters and things like that. But the planning and the intentionality around trying to have limited staff that the kids really know and feel comfortable with has seemed to be working well so far for us.
I would just add that, Isla, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but we've received a message, and I think it was something that, you want to make the least comfortable person feel comfortable in this space. And so just being really mindful and not making assumptions, especially as staff are coming back who've potentially been at home, not been at a grocery store, coming to a school that's, we have to take care of our needs too. And so just not making those assumptions. So even a fellow staff member asking for tech support does not automatically invite you to go touch their computer, right? So just simple things of just asking, and during the school day when students are present, sending an email, and if it's something more urgent, knocking on the door versus and waiting in the doorway versus coming in, waiting to being invited in, just that mindful attitude has really been appreciated, I think, for all at our school.
Thank you, everyone, for your input and ideas. And I think it's beneficial to hear different perspectives, especially as more and more kids start to come back. I'm going to pass it to Sarah to sort of close us out together.
Yeah, so let's do this for close. First, just an honoring of listening to you all talk about your lived experience, and deep gratitude for centering. We will not return to what we were before. We cannot afford to, and our students, particularly our students of color, deserve more. And the way I heard that today in particular was through giving them their independence and their choice and trusting them to know and to be able to care for themselves and each other. And that just came through loud and clear as you honored them and put them in the center of the work. So that gives me great hope that we will emerge as something better and something that our students look forward to coming to our space and sharing space with us every day. So in closing, you all are juggling so many things. Some of us are juggling languages, some of us are juggling many cultures, some of us are juggling technology and in person, and have so many roles. So thinking of all the things you carry, all the things you're holding, all the miracles you pull off each and every day, you're going to get to put one little piece of advice on a sticky note for those 3-5 teachers coming back and all the staff that'll come with them. What is a piece of advice that you would offer them? Can be simple, can be concrete, can be specific, can be general. What's a piece of advice that you just want to leave with them? Don't overthink it. Just the first thing that came to your mind. Piece of advice, parting advice.
Relax a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
Don't make
Once-
assumptions.
One success would not make you, and one failure would not break you.
Exactly. I'm so glad that these are being recorded.
Grace with the technology, because every day it has gotten easier.
I just want to say technology was a pain, but you know, what we have learned to help each other out and learn that there's so many new things to learn about. So like it gets kind of wacky and crazy with Zoom and with like the speakers and stuff like that, but we'll get through this, you guys. Those are the little things, right? We've gone through more than this and we've survived, so we'll get through this together.
Thank you, Tita. So fun to hear your voice.
Embrace the joy and let that live in the space, and knowing that tech will get figured out and everything will be challenging, but there's a lot of joy also within it.
Yes, for sure.
Be creative.
Yes.
Share your experiences as much as you can with your team, because if you keep everything inside, you're gonna burst.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Another thing is to allow children to talk to you about their experiences instead of, I know some teachers may say, let's not talk about it too much, but I believe in letting and allowing children to talk about their feelings because they've been gone a whole year and here they are back. And I'm pretty sure some of them are excited to tell us, you know, their experiences, and some of them just want to vent. So let them talk.
Who we miss? Michael, what advice you giving us?
Just have some patience and, you know, work together. Like you said, we don't all have the answers, but, you know, there are going to be some bumps in the road. But like I said, stay positive and we'll try to figure it out together. You know, we're all in this together as a team. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to bottle all of you up and take you with me every day to school and wish you were my teachers every day in school. From Marissa, on behalf of Marissa, on behalf of Rochelle, and all of the teachers and educators and staff that will get to use this during their PD sessions, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for showing up in such a big and bold and joyful way every day for our kiddos.